Well, hello, everyone. Hello, my fellow beautiful, wonderful, amazing, sensitive people. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your love and support of the channel and for all the wonderful things you do by being you. Well, today we're talking about Hollywood. I used to live in Hollywood. I used to work in Hollywood as a naturopathic doctor. And about 5 years ago, I made a prediction that Hollywood was dying, that Hollywood was finished, that maybe it had 5 to 10 years before it was going to collapse. And there were a lot of reasons why I made that prediction. But when I went into the energy of Hollywood, I felt that Hollywood was finished, that Hollywood was dead. I also warned people not to be enamored with celebrity, that just because you love a character that an actor plays, it doesn't mean that you know the actor or that you have an intimate relationship with the actor or anything like that. Now, I've been criticized in the past for calling out Johnny Depp as a domestic violence abuser of women, a serial abuser of women. And there's plenty of evidence to prove that, going all the way back to Winona Ryder, who evidently he accidentally shot in a hotel in Hollywood when he was playing with a gun, all the way to domestic violence against the mother of his children, long before he lured Amber Heard into that hotel room, and manipulated her into a relationship she probably didn't really want to be in the first place. Long before the overdose of River Phoenix, who was thrown out of his club, the Viper Room, and left to die on the streets of LA. Just because someone can play a charming character, because someone wrote the lines that the actor is delivering, he didn't write those lines, the writer wrote those lines. Just because he's able to play like he's charming or seductive or attractive, it doesn't mean you know that person. And I've warned people over and over again, do not be attached to celebrity. Whether the celebrity is Johnny Depp or Dustin Hoffman, who's also been called out for sexual harassment, now Sean Diddy, Jay-Z. When you think of Hollywood, and you put yourself in the shoes of what it is to be in Hollywood, it's like a beautiful carpet. It's like the most expensive, beautiful carpet that you could ever imagine. Imagine the most expensive carpet made from the best silk and gold, etc. That's Hollywood. But here's the problem. When you lift the carpet and you look underneath the carpet, you see rotting corpses, worms, feces, golden juice, and anything else you can think about. If you can picture that, that's Hollywood. And there's a reason why Hollywood is such a disgusting, awful place with such a beautiful exterior. And that is really what I want to talk about today. This idea of ego and power, which is pretty much all that Hollywood is for many people. It's not all of Hollywood. There's some real talent and some real decent people. In fact, some of my closest friends are living in Hollywood, have worked in Hollywood. But there's a dark side to Hollywood. And the dark side of Hollywood is that there is a population of people in Hollywood that are very power hungry. And they will do anything and everything in order to have power, to grab power. So when we see Johnny Depp getting exposed, or Sean Diddy getting exposed, or Dustin Hoffman getting exposed, or Bill Cosby being exposed, we should not be surprised because of this hunger for power. Never in my life have I seen a place, I hear Washington, D.C. might be worse, I don't know, I haven't been to Washington, D.C. yet. But I've never seen such shallow, shallow people, so many shallow people, and so many people hungry for power. It's easy to smile and to be charming for your fans, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a nice person. It means you're a trained actor and you know how to be charming and attractive for your fans. People who will do anything for power and people that will do anything and everything to hold on to the power. And so it's very cutthroat. Signing people to record deals so that you can hold them and sabotage and ruin their career is not unusual. And we're now seeing some amazing performers having their careers being ruined by the likes of Beyonce, Jay-Z, and the horrors of Sean Diddy Combs. Again, my advice to you is to understand that what you think you know about actors and celebrity is just a performance. It's just an act. It's power. It's being charmed. It's being seduced. It's people trained to seduce. It's people trained in neurolinguistic programming and charming and manipulation, dark seduction techniques. I first got exposed to dark seduction techniques when I worked in Hollywood, and I was exposed to people that used those types of techniques on me. I saw other people's lives being destroyed. I saw people who had come to Hollywood to become famous systematically destroyed by this hungry, cutthroat desire for power, but also fame. The narcissism that comes with that. And so a lot of narcissism, power and greed, and a superficial desire to be one of life's pretty people and to be around other pretty people. I saw a culture where you're judged by things like your veneers. Finally got veneers. Or how much you pay for a facelift. You know, can you afford to keep up with your plastic surgery bills? What kind of car you drive, etc. Again, this is not everyone in Hollywood, but it's certainly a huge aspect of Hollywood because so many people at the top are fighting to stay on the top. They're so hungry for power. When I go into the energy of Hollywood, I see the death of Hollywood because the pool is getting smaller. The pool is getting smaller. The amount of films being made that are actually succeeding is getting smaller as more and more people move towards authentic expressions of art. More people are moving towards social media like YouTube. People just don't want to watch big Hollywood productions anymore like they used to. Celebrity just isn't as attractive as it used to be. People would rather watch frugal living channels and dumpster diving channels because it's a world that we can identify with, struggling, connecting to our fellow human beings in a very human sort of way. We're moving towards authenticity, and we're also moving towards exposure, which means that anything and everything is coming to the surface, which means that every horror story, every bribe that the LAPD took in order to dismiss victims who came out against Bill Cosby and every other perpetrator that had money and power in Hollywood, that was dismissed. I was very disappointed to hear Bill Maher dismiss the allegations against Woody Allen and Kevin Spacey because he said that there was investigations and they were exonerated and we have to believe in the rule of law. No, we don't. No, we don't have to believe in the rule of law because the rule of law has never been on the side of the victim, particularly if the victim is women and children who've been trafficked or sexually abused by a powerful white adult male. Or any male at this point that happens to have money, whether they're white or not. If they have power, if they've got money, if they've got fame, the victim is usually not going to get justice. If it's a case of he versus she and the victim is a 5-year-old child, the chances that the perpetrator is going to get away with it are actually pretty high. So no, we don't believe in the rule of law, because the rule of law is geared towards helping powerful, wealthy people at the cost of the rights of the vulnerable individual. And that's not going to change anytime soon. But what we're seeing in Hollywood is the death of Hollywood. Hollywood is dead because Hollywood is being exposed, because more people have cameras, more people have recording devices, and the ability to hide or cover up the ugly is no longer as easy as it once was. In the 1930s, 40s, 50s, when Hollywood was coming up, a lot of people had been raped and abused. A lot of horror stories were going on about all kinds of people. An example would be Fatty Arbuckle. Was his name Fatty Arbuckle? Is that right? Errol Flynn, a chronic sexual abuser. And yet nobody, Charlie Chaplin, but nobody did anything about it because, again, there was this power differential. But now we're seeing a shift in the power differential as more and more people move towards other forms of entertainment, like watching people like me who broadcast from our kitchens. All right, so I've decided that I'm going to do some card readings on Hollywood, and let's see what we find out. The first thing people asked is the future of Sean Diddy Combs. They also want to know if Elon Musk was involved in the abuse allegations, since they appear to have been friends. And we'll see what else we find out. Let's go ahead. We'll do the empath's prayer. Let's take a look. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. First, we're going to look at Sean Diddy Combs. Is he going to be released from prison? A lot of people think that he may be killed in prison, similar to Epstein, that there's now a bounty on his head. Whoever kills him gets a bunch of money. That makes sense to me, because if he's got tapes from powerful people abusing people, then his life is at risk. Now, he taped everything, which means that the FBI has those tapes already. So would it really even help the victim? Would it even help people to kill him at this point if the FBI already has everything? Let's take a look. The future of Sean Diddy Combs. I'm curious as you are. All right, the future of Sean Diddy, let's take a look. I see the courts going for a woman. I see a woman in this. I think it may be his mother, and I see legal action being taken against this individual. I think that they are not done with the prosecutions of people associated with Sean Diddy Combs. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were involved with him. They propped him up. They celebrated him. They celebrated him because power was more important to them than ethics. Power was more important. Being in the spotlight was more important than their own morality or their sense of right and wrong. But we can see here the court's coming in, and there's this woman here, a Queen of Cups. She dreams. She lives in her own fantasy world. This is somebody this is another thing that I found when I was in LA, is that people live two lives. If you look at the 49 Laws of Power, the book, The 49 Laws of Power, it talks about this concept of people presenting themselves one way and then having another secret life. I believe the author is Robert Greene, if I'm not mistaken. And he used to work in Hollywood, and he would see people that would present themselves like Harvey Weinstein as these liberal, progressive, pro-women, because it made them look good in the public while secretly assaulting people's genitals in hotel rooms. And that's pretty much what you see a lot of when it comes to the power play in Hollywood. You see this double life, the public persona that makes you think the person is great, and then you have the private life where the person is actually a demon from hell. And it all goes back to the same thing. They want power, and they want to continue to hold on to their power, which means that if anybody threatens their power, they will destroy them. Now, the problem is that the pool is drying up. The Hollywood pool is drying up. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which means that the mega mansions, thank God, are getting shut down. Hopefully they can turn it into community living. And that means that the people on the top are beginning to crumble, and they're going to become increasingly desperate. I see Lady Justice. Lady Justice is over Diddy Combs. I see a female judge over him. As I had said, there was female energy, a judge over him. There's the judge. There's multiple court cases. It's not just one court case. We're seeing multiple court cases with him. There's something about his mother. It keeps coming up, the Empress. His mother, and whether or not she will help him or harm him. She has a tremendous amount of evidence about the business and about what went on in these parties and about her participation in them. This is a case where they are being very proactive. The fact that the Queen of Wands is here is very interesting to me because she takes the stick, she has the power, she takes control. Queen of Swords is the justice system. She carries the sword of truth, and this is a judge. He's not going anywhere soon. I thought maybe he would be released from prison, but the fact that the Four of Swords is here would lead me to suspect that he's not going anywhere. His business, his finances have also been locked down. He may not be able to get access to his money. Just because of this positioning between the Queen of Pentacles and the Four of Swords leads me to think he can't get access to his money. Where he's at right now, he's mentally confused. This person could definitely be considered mentally insane. His opposition, the Three of Wands, waiting for their ships to come in, which means that they have plenty of evidence, but they also have evidence overseas, because this is a card that I also associate with being overseas, and the hope and the fear that he'll be shown mercy. The final outcome, he's got a hell of an awful prosecutor coming after him with the King of Wands. King of Wands is a war king. It's ruled by Mars and Leo, the lion. It's also associated in the Yoruba tradition with Shango, who seeks justice. And justice is what we think about when we think about Shango. So justice is over him. Yes, he's got multiple charges coming. He has not even experienced all of the charges that are coming. There's additional charges coming. This guy is in a lot of trouble. I think that he could be doing, you know what, we're not talking about one charge. We're talking about they've charged him. Then they're waiting on more evidence coming in from the international world, and they've got additional charges. They've got so much evidence based on those cards that he could be charged with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of crimes. All right, the next question I had to do with whether or not Elon Musk was involved. My inclination is to say no, because given his personality, he's not really one for those types of free love parties. That doesn't really, but maybe I'm wrong. He's more a one-on-one type of a guy. He's more into romantic fantasies about people, making babies with people, having his heart broken, looking for a woman who he feels he has to save. He often is someone who has fantasies about finding the broken bird. This is he can't say no to a broken bird. This was why he fell in love with Amber Heard. This idea that he is going to come in as the prince on the white horse and he's going to save the damsel in distress. And fantasies about making babies and being the savior. That doesn't really lend itself to Sean Diddy Combs' freak off. But let's take a look at the future of Elon Musk. Yeah, and it usually falls apart. And then he winds up in legal disputes with his baby mama, right? So, and then he just moves off to go make a baby, try to go make a baby with somebody else. So it's a different fetish. It's a different fantasy. It's a romantic fantasy of himself as the great white hope who's coming in on the white horse and is going to save the damsel in distress. That is Elon Musk's fantasy and his delusion about himself. The problem with Elon Musk is that he's surrounded by sycophants that will prop him up and prop up his delusions about himself. Trump is similar in his delusion where he says, "I will be your protector." You wonder who wrote those lines for him. It sounds like something that Elon Musk would write, because that's his fantasy about himself as this great savior of the world. But let's take a look at Elon Musk. All right, Elon Musk future. There he is, the king of cups, always falling in love with the wrong girl, always getting his heart broken. I believe he's a Cancer, isn't he? You know, they want to be surrounded by babies and make babies. Whee! Be surrounded by babies. I see him traveling. He could continue to be on the road with Trump. I know he's already stumped for him, and he could be traveling some more. He spends his time in the Southwest because he's got offices in California and Texas, but also in Florida. He can't be in Florida right now because of the hurricane. He could be concerned about his investments in Starlink and his SpaceX investments in Florida. But you can see him traveling to the Southwest. Where he's at right now, he has also some international travel around him. He's fated internationally. Interesting, what is that? He's in a state of moon or confusion. I'm concerned about pharmaceutical drug use, ketamine. He has a history of drug problems, Ambien. He drinks too much, combining alcohol with Ambien, which he's already talked about. And I'm concerned that it's having an increasing impact on his mental health, his cognitive abilities, but also I'm concerned about an overdose. I get the same feeling from Elon Musk that I got from Michael Jackson. This is somebody who is around sycophants that will give him whatever he wants, tell him whatever he wants, and nobody is telling him no. He's got transformation over his mental health. His mental health is deteriorating. This is a guy that had a severe head injury when he was a kid. He has poor impulse control. There's a lot of men that have fantasies about beautiful blonde girls and running off and making babies, but most men keep it to themselves. When you've got this kind of a head injury, like the type that Elon Musk had, he was beaten into a coma and wound up in the hospital when he was 10 years old and suffered severe brain trauma. He already had a head injury, moon in his fourth house. It's interesting, the fourth house is the mind. It's the higher self. He does have a kind of psychic ability. One of the things I will say about Elon Musk is that he is unbelievably psychic. He experiments with his own type of remote viewing, trying to connect with a girl he's in love with long distance, like the ship's captain. I believe in previous lifetimes he may have been a ship's captain sailing the high seas. He loves his songs about the ship, those sea shanties. He's in love with sea shanties. I think that has to do with his previous lifetimes. And he's now sailing a ship to Mars. So it's this old lifetimes that Elon Musk has had where he would get on the ship and he would sail away, and he would astrally travel to his beloved, make love to her, maybe through tantra. So this is a guy who has been experimenting with the physics of astral travel, psychic abilities, very romantic man, but he gets bored and things fall apart after a couple of months. Mental confusion, and there's a major transformation that he's sitting in. He must change. Either he's going to have an intervention from his family, or he will not make it. He will end up taking himself out through his own destructive behavior. His finances look good, but the weird thing about him when you go into his energy is that he really has no concept of money, in the sense that he's not really particularly attached to it. I'm worried about his overall health. I'm worried about coronary artery disease, heartbreak, mental confusion, and his opposition is fighting. So everyone around him is fighting. They're fighting about Twitter. They want Twitter to declare bankruptcy. He refuses to declare bankruptcy. They're fighting and Tesla sales are down because of his endorsement of Trump. Everyone around him is fighting. I see a lot of tension in his opposition. The hope and the fear is Trump, the King of Swords. So he is riding on Trump to come in and protect his financial investments in the future. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Elon Musk wants power, and he doesn't want to be told no. He's like a little boy who is being told by his Mamala, Kamala, no, and he doesn't want Mamala, Kamala to say no. And unfortunately for us, Elon Musk's own mother hasn't told him no, but she has continued to indulge him and to fawn after him, which is the worst thing that you can do to an addict who's on a power trip. And the final outcome for him, a new awakening for him, or a new beginning, starts for him in spring of 2025. A lot of travel with him. I know he has his own plane. He travels a lot. Reaching across the aisle in the future, his hopes and fears to be victorious. I see another marriage for him. This will be a very serious relationship starting for him in spring of 2025. You can see here again the Two of Cups moving in and the Queen of Cups. He meets somebody who's very loving and compassionate that could change his life. But if somebody cannot reel him in, if somebody cannot take control of him, then if he cannot control himself, somebody else has to come in, like Kimball, and say no to him, because he doesn't have any control over his own life. All right, the last thing I'm going to take a look at is the future of Hollywood. I don't think they have a future, because it's such the people in power in Hollywood are such disgusting, horrible people. The producers are god-awful. And I do see more of the mega mansions getting sold and converted into community living. I just can't for the life of me figure out how you could consider yourself a decent human being, be living like that, and not doing anything about the thousands of people who are homeless on the streets of LA. I personally wouldn't be able to live like that in LA. I would feel a moral responsibility to do something else with my money. That in and of itself would be repulsive to me personally. But let's take a look at the future of Hollywood. They should be disgusted with themselves. It doesn't look attractive. It doesn't impress me that you're driving around in a $150,000 car or living in a mansion. It makes me think that you're an incredibly selfish human being that's rubbing it in the faces of those less fortunate, and that makes you a pig. It doesn't impress me. What would impress me is if you lived simply, like in a condo, lived a humble, simple life, and were decent, and were a philanthropist, and actually cared about people, and were producing films that made a difference in people's lives. Now that would impress me, but I don't see much of that in Hollywood, amongst the Hollywood elite. Let's take a look. The future of the Hollywood elite. lot of actresses went through hell before all this stuff came out. There's fighting and warring happening in Hollywood. We can see the fighting, and we can also see the Knight of Swords as the karma. A heavy wind is coming in that will destroy Hollywood. Everybody that thought that they were above the law, everybody that thought that they could pay off the LAPD to bury the stories, they thought that they were above the law. But the Knight of Swords is coming, and that's helter-skelter. That can be police raids. And we can see this fighting as the ship sinks, as the beautiful, gorgeous, golden tapestries and rugs are ripped off the ground, and the fetid, disgusting, rotting corpses that lie underneath for the entire world to see, so that we all learn the lesson that nobody is above the law, nobody is better than anybody else, and nobody should have that much money and that much pleasure at the expense of everybody else. The first is the health and strength of Hollywood taking the weapons of war over the next 5 years. So for the health of Hollywood, for the health of the community, people within the community will begin dismantling those bad actors, those people who are abusing other people. If you have not treated people right as a producer, as an actor, if you have snubbed your nose at others who are less fortunate, your day is coming. Your day of reckoning is coming. It's coming now. To save Hollywood, you must destroy the abusers in Hollywood. If you love what you do, if you love film, TV, theater, then you have a moral responsibility, if you truly want to save yourself, to take these people out. Five of Swords moving into the crossing card over the issue of the health of the community. It's a 5-year dismantling process. We can see the courts coming in. So actors, performers, people like Justin Bieber that have put themselves on the line, standing up and saying what was done to them. All these famous people that were molested and abused, who were told that they were crazy or were attacked by the sycophants, the people that propped up these awful people because they wanted to be close to the power. Those people will have their day in court. It is the legacy of Hollywood. Years of raping actresses and actors, unwanted pregnancies, forced abortions. This is one of the reasons why Marilyn Monroe had trouble getting pregnant, because she kept being pressured to have abortions. It came out in the biographies on her. Judgments. There's already been judgments, and many people will leave. Unfortunately, many people will leave Hollywood, but that's not necessarily bad. Maybe they'll go into independent film. Where people are at right now, the stars. The stars come out. The stars shine. The monster hides in the light. The monster hides in the light. Right in front of us, in the light, that is where the monsters are. And the people that pretend that they're the nice guys are not always the nice guys. Jimmy Kimmel Live has not been a nice guy when he plays practical jokes on people that are trying to get a job on Thumbtack, and then drags them around. I had a friend who tried to get a job as an organizer on Thumbtack, and instead it was a practical joke by Jimmy Kimmel Live, and they were just playing games with her head and stuff. Meanwhile, she was going through a horrible divorce. She really needed the money. But Jimmy Kimmel Live had to have his joke. He had to have his joke, so he decided to harass an unsuspecting person who's trying to eke out a living on Thumbtack, because he's completely unplugged about how hard life is for a woman who's just come through a divorce and is trying to pay her rent in LA. So the people who often think they're the nice people, they're jerks too. So the monster hides in the light. The opposition at this time is the money and the jobs and the hope and the fear. King of Wands. Is there anybody out there in Hollywood who actually has some integrity and has some balls and is willing to do something to protect other people and is actually walking the walk? Are you all hypocrites, or do any of you actually walk the walk? Are you doing things in private you don't want us to know about in public? If you're doing things in private you don't want us to know about in public, then you are the problem. The final outcome is mastery will come. The focus of who should be successful in Hollywood should be who the masters are. If you are a master of your craft, if you are an ethical person, if you walk the walk, then you are the person who should be in a position of power in Hollywood. People are moving on. Lives have been destroyed. I see after this period of a 5-year cleaning out that a new Hollywood will emerge. A new Hollywood emerges that is based on mastery, and the true artist can work and develop their craft in a safe environment without the fear of predators. So yes, in a way Hollywood will survive, but it will survive in a way that is very different than the greed, selfishness, and exploitation that has been there up to this point. Expect another 5 years of exposés, and then after that, the people of integrity, the people who work hard, the masters of writing, the masters of theater, the masters of art, they will come in and take back Hollywood, and it will be a more egalitarian society that is safer for everybody. Okay, I want to thank you for watching this video on the future of Hollywood, Sean Diddy Combs and Elon Musk. If you're trying to get in for a reading with me, you can check the information below and book me through Booksy. Also, I'm available as a medical intuitive and naturopathic doctor for general health consultations, and that information can also be booked through Booksy. Be kind to all, so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.